Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're all well. And yeah, so this particular live that I've scheduled is a long overdue update on Koi Talk magazine. So nothing written down here, nothing scripted, just speaking from the heart, really, on this whole project. Because for me, really, that's what it always has been. Really. The whole thing from start to finish was really, the magazine was created to become a voice for all you guys, koi keepers, to get solid, sensible information down to earth to enhance your enjoyment and knowledge of your hobby. And yeah, that's exactly what we tried to do. Now, and that's where it started. Now, along the way, you learn stuff. Things grow arms and legs as it did. Now, I never kind of started this whole project as one that was a. And feel free to, as we go along, pop any questions you've got. You might want answering. Other than that, I am just going to ramble on for a little bit. So yeah, it never started as a I knew it was never going to be, even as a standalone business, the chance of it really becoming anything that would be life changing, a money maker. I never saw it as that at all, because compared to my what I do with koi wholesale, it was always going to be relatively small. So it was a real labor of love, really, just an absolute passion of something I really wanted to do. Now, as it went on, it did grow arms and legs. And yeah, really got to a point where, if I'm being frank, and I am going to be completely honest about it, in the end, I just completely fell out of love with it. It was throughout the whole phase of growing that, having koi wholesale growing as a business, me growing as a boss as well, hiring more people, taking on more staff that all needed managing, found it very, very hard to adapt and balance things. So yeah, in the end, it created a lot of problems, and the magazine wasn't the only person sort of invested in it. And although my, view of it was just having it there as a resource to help people, that I would reinvest and invest some of the profits earned from koi wholesale into. Ultimately, there was other ideas on the table that it would become more of a building it into a standalone business and a standalone thing, which creates a few problems in itself, being frank about it, because then you start having to make decisions that are more commercially minded. And throughout all this, completely backed it, tried to give everybody space, as you saw, recruited, built the team up to help run it as well. And in all honesty, I mean, at one point I had more resource sat within the magazine than I did within koi wholesale, which is just bonkers when you consider that the magazine was about a 12th, from a turnover perspective, 12th of the size of koi wholesale. It's crazy. And so anyway, all that learning, I'm letting people, run with it, recruiting more people, thinking and going in a direction where I was trying to make it the voice of the industry, and it wasn't really working. There was a few things throughout all this period where, I believe we were building a standalone brand, a standalone entity, and I don't think you guys were quite seeing it that way. And there was a few things that cropped up along the way that allowed me to click onto that. At one point we did a post. I wasn't involved in any of it whatsoever, and it was, one of the guys chasing down an advertising lead, for example, about a koi pond, koi food subscription or something like that. And it was just a news story that went live on the blog. And I still remember then that, that coming under a lot of scrutiny of people not believing that I'd put my name to it, when I never saw it that way. I hadn't put my name to it whatsoever. And that's when I quickly started to realize that, obviously, being so closely linked to it, it was also being seen as an extension of me. And this is where a lot of conflicts come, because within the magazine, then when you actually look at it from that perspective, there's a lot of advertising, because ultimately there were pages to fill, and they had to be filled because we needed the revenue from it. But that's a massive, when you start looking at it through the lens of me and my koi keeping styles, philosophies, and beliefs, that doesn't make for many pages of advertising. You know, you end up with stuff in there that doesn't align with those values. Can ultimately become a little bit confusing. You know, often some of the content and some of the people who got involved in it all, I'm looking at times and just wincing, because I'm like, yeah, that's not where I'm at. That's not personally where I would go with this. And it rubs against this whole philosophy that I've been promoting and plugging. And it just gets confusing and complicated when ultimately we don't know. You know, we're trying to create this thing. What do people want in from the magazine? And, you know, we're trying to create something that's quite neutral, bringing in different authors, different points of view. Yet when we're doing some of the commercial stuff, then to back all that up, it's coming thrown that I can't believe Ricky's doing that. And yeah, I just, you know, on top of the stresses of managing the people and all of this, in the end of it, when I talk about any of this, don't get me wrong, the book lies with me. I'm not shirking away from that. It really does. But a lot of the people along the way just didn't perform how we wanted to. You know, deadlines slipping and being missed, and just problem after problem massing up, which again was a lot of learning along the way as well. Even down in the end, you know, the whole kind of layout, which was something I was so passionate about to begin with, getting it right. You know, aesthetically a very pleasing magazine, easy to read. It needed updating. And actually on the very last issue, before we hit the pause button, you saw the big update. But that there was a prime example of me making decisions based on what I would want in the magazine versus costs. Because just for the larger layout that we created, I think we added about nearly 30 pages, 20, 30 pages overall, which was mad. But just to compensate for the redesign and getting the more pleasing aesthetic layout that I wanted to see in it, you know, and that's taking the luxury of giving 2 or 3 pages just for pictures, something I've always valued greatly in a magazine. So yeah, in all this behind the scenes, you know, it was incredibly stressful and sad, and that's why in the end we made the decision to at that time just pause everything. Now I know it's been a long time since that happened, and I do want to take this opportunity to apologize to all of the subscribers of the magazine who we still owe the last back issue to. It's been a long time. I know there's not been a lot of communication on it. And the reason being, again, it purely stops with me, because it would have been easy just to throw this away. And at the time of pausing it, in all honesty, that was the intention, that we would actually wind it right down or stop completely. But since then, we pushed to get the other issue done. We was actually all there with it. And then we had a massive print problem. They came back wrong. We was locked in a battle with the print company over it, because they weren't admitting any fault. So that's gone rumbled on and on for a while. And over this period, I thought we just got in a state where, in truth, I wasn't happy with that last issue either, that did go to print. You guys might be looking out there, looking at thinking, no, it's fantastic. But in order for me to do this, my passion has got to be absolutely 100% invested in it. And it wasn't where I wanted it to be and saw it being. So everything kind of, you know, from a business perspective, all the rest of it, it makes sense just to exit and move on. But I just think it's too valuable. You know, so many people have reached out over that period, you know, sad the thought that it might not be coming back. And I see it. There's been loads of debate as to whether it needs to be a print product, what it does, all the rest of it. I've gone backwards and forwards and round time and time again, wondering, you know, what it could be, how we could make it work. Even producing the content, I mean, it's fascinating. I've got enough stuff in my head to write and fill magazines for years to come. But when I sit down, and bearing in mind, obviously, the responsibilities I have to the business interests and the staff and the team and all the rest of it, never mind all the fish and everything else we've got going on. When I sit down with the laptop on my knees, everything goes blank. It's crazy. So even over this time, I can quite happily say now I've actually, with the use of AI, managed to come up with a method that's actually been making it super efficient to me to produce content with my own knowledge, in an efficient way that actually allows me to get it out of my head and actually produced. So yeah, where we're at right now, I think that's obviously hopefully an insight into where I've been with all this. You know, if we're looking at it realistic with everything I do, a magazine can't have really anything. Koi Talk has got to be so closely aligned with my values as a koi keeper and all my philosophies that I come out here and share every week with question time and all the other content that I do. So as of today, first of all, the back issue. So I decided to scrap the one that was done and due to be posted, and we're actually just about finally finished a completely new issue, which we're going to be posting out to all those people who's owed a copy of that one by the end of October. That will be with you through your mailbox. And along with that is going to be the next issue that will be published absolutely free of charge as an apology from us for the delays that you've had. Now, this magazine that you're going to receive is going to represent what Koi Talk is going to be moving forward, because yes, it is our intention to go ahead and restart it as a printed magazine. Now, there's going to be an extension to this service as well, which isn't going to come initially, but it will follow. And I just want to explain a little bit more about what you can expect from it moving forwards. So as for the content, which is going to be the biggest part of it, Koi Talk is going to become an extension of my voice and my voice only. So the content in there is going to be from a perspective of koi keeping knowledge and advice, primarily going to come from me and me alone. Any author that comes into it as a secondary author or an additional author, I'm going to heavily vet and make sure that obviously their philosophers and their knowledge is on point. A couple of people I work with, such as Brian the fish vet, which I'm going to try and get involved and stuff like that, who I've got first-hand experience of working with, and I know it's going to be good knowledge and trustworthy information as well, which is the most important thing. We are going to aim to keep it on a monthly basis. We're also looking to factor in some kind of digital experience to it as well, because part of the growth of sort of holding it back was that getting it out to the other countries that wanted it was quite difficult, and physically scaling out the printed magazine is quite tough, in all honesty. But the biggest part of it is throughout all this time period as well, it's not like I've been sat doing nothing. I have now rebuilt a team that's working at Koi Wholesale that is doing a phenomenal job. Roles that I've not managed to relinquish over the past couple of years that I've tried so hard to do. It's now functioning like a very, very well-oiled machine that's becoming less and less dependent on me, which gives me the capacity to actually fully invest in other projects properly. That being said, I know that in order to really make this work, I do need somebody in that team with me. And I have found somebody who I think is going to be an absolutely excellent fit. Is initially going to be invested off the back of his own time, with looking to come out of his current line of work and actually take on the role of editor of the magazine full time. But yeah, along with my the sort of knowledge side of things coming from me, what we are going to have, and these are kind of promises from me with this, is advertising in there. There are going to be no internal adverts from any manufacturers or anybody that doesn't align with any of my values. The likelihood is the internal pages, if we can get it to work, if there's any advertising in there, will come from koi breeders that I work with. And then a few pages we've dedicated around the covers. If at any point they're willing and want to, some of the brands that I do align with and fully back and support will take up them pages, but there'll be nobody in there again that I don't have some kind of connection to or vouch for or believing in any kind of way. So, and you kind of get from that the vibe that I'm taking with this, and kind of the whole attitude now with it is if that's not for you, don't buy it. pretty much. It's going to be a full extension of my passion, thoughts, interest, everything I've got going on in there. And I think the nice bit about it is, you know, looking at all the digital content that I do out on YouTube, it's going to be a nice way to actually tie some of the things together properly, because in an episode of Question Time can talk about so many different things, but it's only ever generally a snippet. Don't go super in depth into stuff. So I think it's going to be nice that some topical things that do end up coming, you know, week on week, we can get into that now and actually get the in-depth side of it, so it can be fully understood. And yeah, there's no, I think the important thing here is, yeah, you know, all of a sudden, just take it as an example, where I see another conflict times gone by. We all know my thoughts on fish food and where all that's at, sake akari, all the rest of it. The next thing we have articles being done by someone else who manufactures a different food, plugging in and completely cutting against the philosophy and everything that I'm preaching. And it's confusing. Nothing I ever do, you know, I feel like I've been ultra consistent in the messaging of what I do, banging on and on and on at times, but that's really important in order for that to sink in. And part of me wanting to do all this in the first place was because the conflicting advice I would see when someone posted in a Facebook group, for example, and got hit with 20 different answers from all these different people who you don't actually know their CV, their pedigree, or anything behind them as to whether to trust the advice or not. I always wanted Koi Talk to be that voice, and now that voice will be my voice as well, and that's what you'll be buying into. And like I say, if that's not for you, fair play, but it will be a nice platform to put some real in-depth structure into some of the topics we do kind of, I wouldn't say skim over, but don't fully get in depth of. So you've got the opportunity when it's offline to sit and consume that and fully understand it. I still want to, and we still will be, part of the new guys thing is going to be working with you guys as well, because I think it's nice to get into the hobbyist world and see what you guys are up to. So the pond stuff that I know everybody loves, will still be doing, because I see no conflicts in that. It's just enjoyable, and seeing what stories are out there from your side of the fence as well, things you're up to that I'm sure others would like to read about and possibly gain something from. And then another big point, which I feel is massively important, is the content coming from Japan. So there won't be an issue that goes by moving forward that doesn't have fresh content coming in from, you know, we're working with Rie out there. She's out there all the time. So every issue is going to have at least one piece of Japanese content in, breeder information, you know, all this stuff that's actually really, really hard to get hold of is going to be there in every single issue for you, because I believe that is important. The koi appreciation stuff will stay as well, because again, I just love those pages. But just to give you another idea of the things I've mentioned, you know, that was another point there, that those pictures we actually buy from Jane Manarat, widely considered the world's best koi photographer. You know, we buy them every issue and they're quite expensive. And we went through a phase again where commercialism was taking over, and we was using our own pictures and then selling sponsorship for that fish. And I have got, honestly, this is where just this constant conflict comes in, because I don't give a shit about that, because for me that ruins the experience to you guys, and I want the best in there. And that is where we're going to be at with all that from now on. So the other side to it as well, and a huge side, was the logistics of having the postage side of it. So I, from day one, was keen to keep the price as low as we could, but that's also become apparent to me that in order to do it in the way that I want, that's just not going to be possible moving forwards, unfortunately. So the big side for me with that is that, like I've just said, the new design, for example, well worth it in my opinion. But the issue with it is it's 20 more pages. So that fits into the postage band that we were in, not a problem. But again, we have to pay for that. You know, it's like a 20%. No, I've got that wrong. Almost 50% increase, 50% increase on pages. Mental. So it hikes that cost up. And then in order to keep the postage side down, we were using a service which, works on Windows. So we have to book slots. When it comes from our printer, it gets delivered at the distribution company. And at that point, it's out of our hands. And the service, honestly, guys, it's just never, ever, ever lived up to anything I would want to put my name on. Another reason why, again, I just completely fell out of love. Because when you've got stuff like that that doesn't align with all your values, as a business owner, trust me, it's incredibly stressful. And the service for back issues has always been phenomenal because we deal with them in-house. That order comes in, Susan in the office picks it up, gets it distributed the same day it comes in, and it's out through the normal Royal Mail service and always received without problem. Superb. When we actually do the subscription run, like I say, it goes to the printers, it then gets delivered, and we have to book a slot, and that varies on them and their availability. And you can see how time can be lost here. It then goes, after that, they put it through their mailing system and all the machines, but then it goes into this different kind of sort process, which I still don't fully understand. But all I have come to gather is it's not the same as when we drop them off or have them collected through that normal service. Obviously, it keeps the cost down, but what we're finding is people just not receiving their magazines. They're not reaching out to tell us either, so we can do anything about it. The spread across the country at different times when people get them was also phenomenal. And now this is just the stuff I'm not prepared to put up with moving forwards either. So the subscription, we're actually going to fully handle that in-house with all the postage through the proper Royal Mail service, which is going to mean the price of that will go up. And also the price of the magazine is going to go up as well to compensate for all the extra pages and just basically me not being prepared to compromise on it. That's exactly where we're at. I say, unless I am absolutely in love with that issue and where we're at with it, I won't be able to continue with this. So, that's really all of that in a nutshell. I can't think at the top of my head if there's anything else. Like I said, there's a lot more people tuned in now. And if you're watching this after, please feel free to give me any more feedback along the way, or on this, of your experience you've had of it as well. But just rest assured, everything's in a very different place now. The team of people I'm working with are just different level to where I was at before. The team was a big part of it, in all honesty. Like I say, although the book does lie with me, it wasn't through I was paying out serious money in salaries and expecting people just to deliver certain things that never really got delivered, unfortunately. And whenever there was a problem, it all just came back to me anyway, and it felt like I was still having to do it all. And it just shitty. But that's why I've took this time to just basically stay quiet, see what we could do, figure it out in my own head, rebuild the people, and like I say, luckily found somebody somebody willing to come in just off their own back to help get this thing re-going again. It shows me everything I need to know up front, really. So excited to get back to it. And just to be clear again, the issue that is owed to everybody will be coming out by the end of October, and it will be accompanied with the next issue as well, free of charge to all those people. And then further news on how you can start subscribing and all the rest of it will come out later on, as well as more news about the additional services that we're looking to build. But all that kind of at the minute is just hinging on getting the right software set up for it. That ain't going to be an absolute ball buster price and money wise, really. So yes, that's where we are, guys, with Koi Talk. Exciting times, because I think it has been missed. The podcast is going to get brought back into this. So just again to fill you in on the kind of how all that bit works, that was just another, throughout all the time with the magazine, it in the last kind of 6 months of it started, wiping its arse, as we say. It was covering itself from the money that it was generating, which was good, but not to the whole extent. It covered a couple of the salaries, but then all the extra time of mine and other people's and all the other resource from Koi Wholesale that was being put into it meant it was in a serious kind of loss position. And then from that as well, when we're doing all the podcasts and stuff like that, that was adding further cost, and no one was ever paying for that. I was picking it all up, which again, had no issue with, because I'm enjoying it and felt like it was massively adding value. But then in the end, what happened was, when I brought the podcast back just recently, I brought in an external freelance, because at the time I didn't have Aaron with me in-house anymore. And it was really costing an arm and a leg to put those issues out, unfortunately. So we're going to take a relook at that format, but we're going to look at how that potentially fits in with the whole subscription and everything out there. So we are still playing around with them ideas, but it is our intention to get it all firing on all cylinders again. So yeah, and let's say now I've got Aaron, who has been learning, and yeah, we're going to be able to manage the whole thing in-house again, which does make it more cost effective. But yeah, and my whole outset to this now is, I'm fully accepting it, that I just want it to be, if it's cost neutral, I'm happy. If I have to put a bit in even, it's fine. It's just so long as it's not becoming what it was really. And I'm happy and in love with each edition that goes out. I think it'll be absolutely fire. And I can't wait to bring it back to the Koi Talk community. So stay tuned, folks. And I do just want to apologize again to everybody who that issue is owed to. But I hope you understand from watching this video why, in the end, it's took the time that it has to get to where we are. And like I say, that book does fall with me, but yeah, got to be right. And I just wanted to be clear that when we did it, if it was going to be really the last one, or if we're going to be continuing. And that's where we're at, guys. So exciting times. I'm going to spend a couple of minutes now just scan through some of your questions, because I've not really been paying attention. Let's have a look what we've got. Oh yeah, sorry, guys. I'm not doing questions today. That's not what this is. I'll be back on. Oh no, I'm not back on Wednesday for that one. I'm not sure what day it is this week, but and of course it's Battle of the Breeders this weekend. Mike, personally, I originally described to hear more of your perspective and advice. So this sounds fantastic and really beneficial for obvious. Yeah, well, that's amazing to hear. To be honest with you, that just one bit I really got, I say confused in my head. It's hard, because we're trying to just do what we felt was right and just be a neutral kind of perspective. But I think it's quite clear it wasn't really working. And I think the USP, really is a lot of the philosophies and what we can bring to the table from everything around the ecosystem involved with me, Koi Wholesale, Koi Talk, and stuff that's to come as well. So yeah, there we go. Andrew, sounds like a great new format to move forward with. Yes, hopefully it'll be received that way. Afternoon, Ricky. Just had a look at some of your stunning fish at 5 Towns. That's amazing, mate. Thank you. Ray, excited for the next edition. Where do we sign up the subscription? Stay tuned on that, Ray. I've not changed anything. That is still all closed down. There are back issues available on the website to buy, and we've got binders and mugs and bits and bobs still that we've got stock of. Totally agree with everything you want to do with the magazine. That's amazing to hear, Paul. Thank you. You mentioned digital content. Will you make it available in digital form for us overseas fanatics? Yes, Greg. So that's a big thing. The demand from the US was phenomenal. But again, the postage cost, I saw it. It was just absolutely shocking. But we're going to, let's see what we can do. There's a few conversations we've been having, but we just want I want the right experience with it, because I don't like digital magazines. I think they're an awful experience. So we want to see what we can do. If there's something that I find that works, but it's actually the digital side of it, I've got a bit of a different idea on to enhance the overall experience. But stay tuned, Greg, anyway. Will currently unavailable back issues be reprinted in future? Yes, again, when the team gets on that'll get done. Obviously, part of the issue with that, again, is pricing, because these small runs of back issues are very, very expensive. but we are going to look to implement a plan into that keeps it, the issues available and sustainable moving forwards. Love the Koi Talk podcast. Yes, Ray, I'm glad you do. To be honest, I really enjoyed doing them. But like I say, just process and everything else, but we will get it all firing again together. Chris B, thank you for not compromising. Questions, like I say, guys, not doing questions. Yeah, there we go, guys. I think I've answered all that. Last one there from Colin. When's the auctions coming back? Another one on the list. Let's just say stay tuned, Colin. Stay tuned, mate. Andy, can subscribe or do need to wait for an update? Yeah, wait for the updates, Andy. Let's say it's not open yet. You can get back issues on the site if you want to get stuck into that. But then all the new stuff moving forward, you'll hear plenty of it to come anyway. So yeah, exciting stuff, guys. Thank you to everyone tuned in. If you're tuning in afterwards, please feel free to leave any feedback in the comments, and I'll get back to you. And yeah, there we go. So I'm looking forward to Battle of the Breeders this weekend. Feeding has stopped next weekend. Sorry, feeding stopped on those ponds now. And yeah, really looking forward to getting this fired back up again, and hopefully, seeing the magazine fulfill and become what I always hoped it would be, and being back there for you guys as that invaluable resource and an extension of everything else that we're doing. So yeah, there we go. Oh, sorry, last one there. Thank God for the announcement. Is about Koi Talk. Thought you were going to tell us you were dying or something. God, yeah, what would you all do without me, Richard? That'd be crazy. Yes, Ray, I'm sure you can't wait to see your fish. They're all looking good. So yeah, anyway, thank you for everyone who's tuned in, and like I say, stay tuned for the updates coming on that, and plenty more of everything we've got coming. Certainly, I think October is going to be a phenomenal month for a lot of stuff we've been working on over the past 3 or 4 months. And yeah, don't forget, channel name changing soon. So the Koi Wholesale channel is going to become just my personal channel to encompass everything that I'm doing across the industry. So there's your heads up on that one. And other than that, enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and I'll be back with Question Time Live next week.